All right, homies, I'm back. Check out this bright, shiny, new, perfectly clean, beautiful work bag. There's other videos out there on these. I've done some kind of unique stuff with this one. I just picked this up. I kind of always looking up my game, but more recently I've been restructuring. We're in the middle of moving, and so like consolidating things and sort of selling off a bunch of stuff and sort of just trying to reduce in general how much stuff I carry around or have with me. I saw this and I sold off a whole bunch of other tools and had more than enough to cover a new tool bag. So I thought, what the heck, I'll try this thing out. So this is the Veto Pro PAC. That's VETO. Sounds like he could be a Corleone. Veto Pro PAC TECH-MCTP. So I have no idea what most of this stuff means. Tech is probably, this is the tech pack, and then MCTP, I think P means pouch. I'm not really sure what the rest of it means. If you want specs on this, I'd suggest you just go to vetopropac.com and look up the Tech MCTP, and they'll tell you all about it. But just to go over the externals of the bag, we have a shoulder strap, optional. This strap is ideal to be slung sort of over the shoulder of the same side as the one you intend on carrying. Let me move the phone around here. I hope this shows up. Carrying it this way is probably the easiest way to go. If you loosen it up, you certainly could do crossbody, but generally speaking, there's going to be so much weight inside one of these things that, you might not want to carry it that way, but I don't know, whatever. You have options. Options are great. So that's nice for those short distances. If you're working out of a van, that's usually what I do is these days I'm spending a lot more time in a static location, but in the past I've worked a lot out of a van. And so I usually leave the bag in the van unless I actually need tools. Then I go back and get the bag. Because my job is kind of interesting in that I can spend a day doing like nothing but skilled maintenance and labor, like rebuilding machinery or taking pumps, chlorinators apart, stuff like that. Or I can go for really long periods of time where like I don't do a whole lot of skilled work and I just do like a lot of unskilled work that doesn't really need a lot of tools. So it's just sort of a weird kind of gig doing commercial pool maintenance. It's not really a common job, but at least not in this part of the country, it's not. But anyway, so we're looking at this. So we have a rigid top here. Like this is hard plastic, and this handle is like, it doesn't just look hardcore, like it is hardcore. It's really heavy duty. So I'm actually going to start with the other side. So we'll go through this side first. So you got a couple little pockets here. You got some loops, so you can run carabiners with tools or hang tools off the loops. And then, of course, you have these D-rings, so you can hang stuff off there. In this pouch, I'm just keeping the charger and like a charging brick and a cable for my Milwaukee accessories. We'll get there. And then in this one, I think I've just got some hearing protection and a lighter. So they're just little tiny pockets that go down, like a couple inches, say. And then you have some pockets on the corners here. This one I have a Sharpie in. This one I just don't have anything in. And my typical day-to-day job, building maintenance, swimming pool maintenance, does not require a very large variety of tools. I've actually overloaded this bag because it's kind of dual purpose for me. I'm actually a mechanic by trade. I'm not a building maintenance guy. Even though for the last 20 years professionally, that's what I've done is building maintenance, arranged from custodial work all the way to skilled trade work, and then swimming pool maintenance specifically. So, pumps, filters, stuff like that, piping, heaters, heat exchangers, like I do a very wide variety of tasks on pools, but I'm still a mechanic at heart. And so like my approach to building maintenance is probably a little bit different than a lot of other people's. So I've really repurposed a lot of mechanics tools, and it's gone the other way too. There's actually a lot of building trades tools that I've repurposed into mechanics tools, but you'll see that as we go. So anyway, inside this, we have like a leash that you can adjust. So you can adjust like how far you want this particular flap to open. I'm not entirely sure why that's there, but I have good reason to suspect it's for good reason. But anyway, so that's a thing that's real. And we have a pocket here that goes in to the bottom of this seam here. So it's like, call it 6 inches. We've got a D-ring right here. And then we have another pocket that's bellowsed and it's clear. So like if you had something you needed to see in there, you could use that. And then as you can see, these panels actually come out, and you can go to Veto Pro PAC and you can get different style panels. Hold on a second, I'll grab one here. This is the panel that came in on the other side, and why I removed it we're going to go over. But you know, you can see up here it's got like a little pocket, and it's got, so you can get just different kinds of panels. So like I could, for example, put this panel in this side, which honestly might not be a terrible idea. But so what we have here is we got little pen, pencil, bit pockets down here. You do have a little bit of space in between the pockets here and the flap, so that you can put stuff in there. And then we have a pocket here. It's fairly generously sized. You can see I just have a couple of miniature Nipexes in here. The one, I think these are 125s. Yeah, so 125 pliers wrench and 125 Cobra. You know, maybe these would actually be better to like stuff in here like this. So you guys can just bear with me while I reorganize my bag, because I turned comments off because I don't really care what anyone has to say about that. So over here I got these, I picked these up. These are more of an automotive tool, but they're adjustable pliers. They're basically just a Snap-on copy, but because I don't necessarily need to give Snap-on my money, I went with the Icons. They're much less expensive and very useful, but I haven't really, those are brand new. I just bought those. Something I have used a lot are these twin grips. These things are amazing. If you're in building maintenance and you can only have one pair of pliers, these things are friggin' incredible. They've got, so you can grab bolt heads up here and use it like a screwdriver. And then you have the jaws shaped so that you can like grab piping or round things. And the teeth are very aggressive. And then it's adjustable like the Cobra pliers. So it's got little teeth in here, and you can just adjust it to any number of widths between here and here. So highly useful. And they have different sizes of these. I think these are the 200s. Yeah, 200. So I think it's like 8 inches, something like that. 200 millimeter. I don't know. Do the math. You tell me. I've got, I think these are 180s. So these are the 7-inch pliers wrench and Cobra plier. And then I've got mini bolt cutters. These Knipex mini bolt cutters are freaking incredible. And this is one of my all-time best and most used tools. You can't tell by looking, like you would think that I barely ever do anything with these. I have used and beat the ever-living piss out of these things, and they just keep going. So they're not that greasy because I haven't used them a ton for automotive. I've used them a lot for automotive, but not like a professional mechanic would. But you can see like there's some melt spots and stuff. So what I used these for a ton was back when I was still blacksmithing. I'd actually grab hot stock with this and use it like a set of tongs. And I'd use it as my twisting and bending pliers because of this square job. But I've used them a lot in building maintenance, and I've used them a lot for automotive as well. And I mean, just the fact that they've held up so well, especially with hot metal, and just like intentions that Knipex I'm sure never had for these. But yeah, these are the 10-inch, which I think is 250 millimeter. And I love these. Like if I could only have one tool, period, it'd probably be this pair of pliers right here. My all-time favorite tool ever. So I love those. And then my dad bought these for me years ago. I think Icon's making a version of these. These are the Snap-ons, and these are great for electrical work. You have a little plier tip, you have a crimper, you have a different style crimper, and then you have strippers here. Like for automotive work, these are friggin' incredible if you're doing a lot of DC automotive wiring. And so I love these, and I just take them around. And so so kind of what I use this pack for is, you know, like if a buddy calls me, and I get this, I don't get this as much as I used to when I was young, because, you know, we're all older now and we have more money, so we can buy better cars that don't break down so much. But I still get calls like, hey, Jim, I broke down. Great, I grabbed this, I'm ready to go. I don't have to come out to my shop and think about what I need. Like I've already got everything I'm going to need in here for the most part. I'm sure I forgot some things, and I'll get to that at a later point. Here's a chisel driver. It's a Vera chisel driver. This is the 12 by 200. The reason I have this in here is because not only is it a great screwdriver if you have to drive some really big flathead screws, which in building maintenance, surprisingly, there are a lot of big flathead screws out there still. But it's also got a metal end cap for smacking it with a hammer. I should put a hammer in here. That's what I'm missing. for smacking it with a hammer and using it like a chisel. And Vera actually does warranty these if you use them like a chisel, to my knowledge, because they're called chisel drivers. So they're not made out of typical screwdriver steel. They're actually made out of tougher steel. So this thing's not only a screwdriver, but it's a pry bar and it's a chisel. Now I know everybody does that with a standard flathead screwdriver. The thing is these just hold up better under the abuse because Vera specifically made them to be that kind of a jack of all trades screwdriver. So it's just a really tough, and you can see it's had a little wear and tear on it, you know, from getting beat by a hammer or rubbed up against stuff. And I haven't used it much for driving screws, but I've sure used it a lot for prying and chiseling. And I mean, God, the metal on this is perfect. Like you'd never know. So great on you. I have the full set too, all the way down to the little guys. So he lives in here for his practical utility. And then I just have a miniature set of picks. This is just mainly for automotive. You know, I mean, it does come in handy for building maintenance, especially if you're working on like swimming pool pumps or chlorinators or things that might have little tiny O-rings in them. But mostly this is for automotive. So I can pick seals off and stuff like that. I kind of need to maybe find a better, less stabby place to sort those out. But actually, so back here, we also have some little pouches on this one that you could put short things. And then we have a larger pouch here and a couple of D-rings back here to dang donglies. So there you go. And then, of course, we're going to come back to the P. So it's the MCTP. Well, they have the TECH-MCT, and the TECH-MCT does not have the Ps. It's just got little tool, kind of little pockets like this on the side. Well, this one's got the Ps, and the Ps are the pouches. So what we have over here is complimentary. We get a tape holder. I've got electrical tape because God knows it's useful for everything. I have Teflon tape because I work with a lot of fittings that are pressurized, and you gotta tape them. And then I have some jiu-jitsu finger tape because jiu-jitsu finger tape is like legitimately one of the most useful substances that has ever been invented by mankind. It's incredible. And then over here we have a spot that's like a loop, so you can hang stuff through the loop. And then this is for a tape measure. Or Veto makes a bunch of accessories that you can clip onto these, like things you can stick on your belts, like holsters for your fancy drivers and drills and, you know, tools and impacts and stuff like that if you want. And then inside here, I just got some gloves. I really don't have any tools in here yet. Just a little bit of nitro glove action there. And I like nitro gloves both for automotive maintenance and for building maintenance because in my trade I work around a lot of really nasty chemicals like muriatic acid and sodium hypochlorite, which is just a fancy way of saying household bleach that's roughly 4 times stronger. I also work with granular chlorines and things too, so I should probably figure out how to get my breathing protection in here, but honestly, us professionals, most of the time we just kind of look away and hold our breath, but it's not the smartest thing in the world. So anyway, back on the other side again. Actually, let's go to the other side pouch. Let's go to so this pouch again, we got D-rings, we got another tape clip area. And then in here, I just have my little tiny Craftsman meter. I'm not like super electrical guru, but this little meter has enough functions that it serves the purpose for me most of the time. I have much more intense electrical meters that I can use if I need to, you know, I figure like for a quickie on the go job, if somebody's on the side of the road and they're broke down, you know, I'm not going to be doing any hardcore computer system comlink troubleshooting for them. Like if I can't figure it out in an hour or two, like they're just going to have to get it towed to a shop and let the professionals do it. So, but having a small meter is handy for building maintenance and automotive. On this side, I got a couple of railers. These are just the single rows. I have bits that mainly for building maintenance, Robertsons. You pretty much never see those automotive. I don't know what these are called, but these are the little twisty guys. Again, building maintenance. I see a lot of Torx in automotive, but that's also mainly for building maintenance. I think that's a T45. It's pretty big. And then, you know, flatheads again. You see a lot of those in building maintenance, not so much in automotive. I have a selection of standard Allen heads. For some reason, building maintenance is overwhelmingly in standard, and automotive maintenance is overwhelmingly in metric. So this is mainly because I do building maintenance professionally. That's what I get paid for. Most of my time is spent doing that. But, you know, I am set up for automotive, so I do have some metric Allen heads laying around somewhere that I probably forgot to put in here. But so we got standard Allen heads, and then we got Phillips 3, Phillips 2, Phillips 1. These are just the shorties. I don't use shorties very much, but they're there. And then over on this side, I've got some dongles. So this is just an accessory drive extension. I got a 1/4 inch square adapter. This is a 1/4 inch socket slash bit driver. This is a 5/16 socket slash bit driver. Phillips 1. This is a Phillips 2, believe it or not. It's a Japanese one. It's really nice. Phillips 2 and then Phillips 2. I use a lot of Phillips 2s. Automotive and building maintenance. And then over here, I just have Fisher Space Pen. And then over here, I have this really cool driver. So I can actually, use any of these bits with this driver. This is a Klein. And it's really neat because the bits are double-ended. And then of course, these bits, and they're all impact rated. And then this one's just a standard 1/4 inch driver on this. So you have a little Torx. I think it's a Torx 20. Torx 25. Torx 25 on a standard 1/4 inch. And then this guy turns into a standard 3/8 chuck socket driver, which is pretty cool. And then you can flip this bad boy around. Klein Tools is starting to break into automotive, but it's mainly been for building and trades. Not a lot of automotive guys are real hip to Klein, and it's definitely something that I've been turned on to because Klein makes just fantastic stuff. Robertson's, again, you flip this around. We got our Phillips 1 and 2. And then 5/16 driver here. And again, these are all so you can put them in the chuck of your power equipment. So now we'll break into here. I just have a small 10-foot tape measure in there, little Stanley 10-footer. Everything I've got that's red and black has something about Umbrella Corporation on it. It's just what I'm into. And then I have my Torx bits in here. Use a lot of Torx bits building and automotive. And there's a little pocket internal here, and then there's actually little slots in here you can put like extendo bits and things. It's like some of these bits actually could have just gone in that pouch, but I like dangling them. It makes me feel like a G, showing my bling. Okay, this one does not have the strappy hanging-a-bobber. We have the same 2 pockets, basically as the other flap, virtually identical. I've got a Klein impact driver standard socket set. These are brand new. I have not used them at all yet, but pretty cool. And you got a carabiner, so you can hang it on the outside if you want. Milwaukee charger slash battery bank, so you can recharge your accessories with this or charge your Milwaukee battery with this. This is the M12 Surge. Dude, this is the coolest Milwaukee tool there is. I mean, this thing will impact at like the lowest imaginable torque, and it's very gentle. This thing is just so gentle on bits and fasteners, and it's useful for anything you want to do. You sacrifice some of the power of the more current generation fuel impacts, but what you trade for that power is way more controllability, and it's so quiet. It's unreal how quiet this thing is when it's rattling, even at full force. And it's just like for 99% of anything I want to do with an impact driver, this is by far the best option. So the Surge M12, which is cool. Now you can see I removed this panel from here. Why did I do that? Well, I made this pretty awesome discovery I'm going to show you in just a moment. So I have the right angle adapter. This comes in really handy for rebuilding some of the little robots and bits that we use for pool cleaning. And we have some real tight, weird angles to get into some of this equipment. And so these little right angle adapters are absolutely essential. And then I just have a little drill bit selection here. There's probably a better way I could store these, but it's just a drill bit selection for the Surge Impact. They have the shanks that just drop right in. So that's cool. As you can see here, I have a super long extendo Phillips 2. This is probably the most used Phillips 2 I have, just because it's nice to not, be like so uptight to everything. So I need to get a couple more of those. I have, for more automotive uses, I have my beautiful little snap-on 1/4 inch body 3/8 anvil. And then I've got this really cool Vim Tools bit driver. So this works with standard 1/4 inch bits, and it works with 1/4 inch sockets through this adapter. You can use it as a T-handle. You can use it as a flex head ratchet. It reverses directions. It's got this nice thing up here to turn. And it's really pretty tough, and it's like a 90 tooth in there. So pretty neat little accessory. I don't have any 1/4" sockets in here currently, but that will probably change, I would imagine. And then I just have an Icon socket set. I have this set up for mostly automotive purposes, and it's I think I've got a 5mm, and then I think I skipped 15mm. And yeah, so I took the 15, the 18, and the 19 out. I don't really use 15 and 18 that often. And then 19 is the same as 3/4, and I have a 3/4 right here. These are semi-deeps, which is if I have to choose one socket size, if I don't want to carry a ton of sockets, I usually almost always go with semi-deeps because they really cut the mustard well between shallow and deep sockets. And then I have a couple Icon extensions, a gear wrench wobble extension, which the wobble extension is really neat. I'll kind of, if you're not familiar with how wobble extensions work, I'll kind of show you here. So, and this is just a SK 90 tooth standard 3/8 ratchet. Yeah, so if you look at how a regular they fit together, there's a little bit of play in there, but not much. You know, and obviously the better the extension, the less play there's going to be. These are specifically designed to have a lot of play on them. So when you put the socket in there, if you push all the way down, it has barely any play at all. But if it's out a little bit, you can see all that wobble. And what that's nice for is for if you have a little bit of an off angle, you can get in there and you can drive that off angle. Now, there are other companies that make better wobble extensions than Gear Wrench. These aren't the strongest, and one of the downfalls to these is that a lot of times when you're trying to get on a fastener, you end up having to push in, and then it just locks out, and you lose your wobble. And so then what are you going to do? How are you going to get your wobble back? So, you know, I think Snap-on has some that don't have that feature where they just wobble all the time. And honestly, I think that's probably the better option. But, you know, different strokes for different folks and different tools for different jobs. And this is just what I had, so that's what I put in there. So then what I did is I pulled out that accessory panel in favor of the Icon magnetic mat. And what I had originally thought of doing, because they have these Velcros in here, was I thought about just getting some sticky Velcro and putting that on here so that this would Velcro in place. But I don't think it's necessary because I've knocked this thing around quite a bit today as it is in here, like kind of shoved in there. And the corners sort of dig in up here, and that sort of holds it in place. And then when you start putting stuff like this in the bottom, it just holds it up. So it's kind of pinched in at the top, and then this stuff's sort of holding it in at the bottom. So I don't think I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to put Velcro on it. So I'm just gonna keep using it this way, and until I encounter an issue, I'm just gonna use it as it is set up here today like this. So yeah, and then there's my little mini ratchet. You know, I don't really know if I need the little mini ratchet. I just like it because it's got low back drag, and it's just a nice little bitty guy. And then, yeah, and then I just kind of set my sockets here. Now, I could actually, if I had the panel in there, I'd have a D-ring I could hang it on, but, you know, I really probably don't need the carabiner. But yeah, anyway, so there's a good look at this. You know, there's a lot of stuff on here that's new, like these railers are brand new, and this carabiner is brand new. Most of these bits don't really get used a whole lot. The Robertsons have had some wear and tear on them, but most of these bits are just kind of there if I need them. These bits definitely get a lot more use. Not so much the 1/4 inch, but these guys, and, you know, and then these bits I've used for the impact, and then for the, you know, just with the handle. So yeah, pretty cool. Lots of options. Definitely probably some room for improvement in my tool loadout, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I kind of like to be as minimal as possible until I need something I don't have. And I'm like, okay, better add that in. So that already happened to me today, actually, because I was using this to do some work out in the yard. And instead of walking back and forth to the shop, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna take the tech pack. And I did not have... Oh, I forgot to show you that I had these. So I didn't have these in there. These are just my little 160 Nip-X side cutters. I was trying to use these miniature bolt cutters for a job that these are just better at. And I was like, well, I don't need two. I don't need the bolt cutters and the side cutters. And honestly, between the two, I probably would be better off just using these and not using the bolt cutters. So I don't know. I'll keep the bolt cutters in there for now, but I did end up throwing these in there just because I found a situation they were handy in. So, you know, so things just develop and change as you age and change and different jobs and stuff. So, but yeah, anyway, that's where we're at there. Hopefully this was an informative video. Maybe you got a little bit of a different look and use case for this. There's definitely guys out there that do trade-oriented work, like plumbers and electricians, that love this thing, that, you know, maintenance guys that probably have actually used it in the field. I really haven't used it much in the field yet. I've used a lot of these tools in the field. I just haven't used them in this bag. So it's kind of nice to have that. Oh, and there's another reason I really like it too. And that's because if you look at my commuter bicycle here, I don't really commute much by bicycle anymore because my work location changed. But this summer, I have a feeling I will be. And this actually fits really well inside my basket. So I can just put my bungees on that, and then I've got my tools right there on my bicycle. So that's another reason I wanted that. And something else I'll add, if you haven't seen any other videos on this, is that it does have a hard plastic bottom. So this is fully rigid, molded plastic there. Hopefully that's coming through. And the MCT, take the P off, no P's, just the MCT, has a plastic bottom that comes up like this far. So it might be better if you work in a lot of wet environments where you don't want water to get in the nylon. So having that taller plastic could be a benefit to you. I mean, I do work around a lot of water. I just didn't think it would really matter that much. And I really like the red and the black too. And I don't think they offer that on the regular. So yeah. All right. Enjoy.